What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I am here to give you my Miami Dolphins versus Los Angeles Chargers post-game analysis video. So look, I pride myself on being a very detailed, nuanced person, and so I like to give you in-depth analysis, and so that's how I have done and plan to do these videos. I'm gonna give you my overview. I'm going to give you my overview, the injury report going into this game, and then, give you the stats and all of the breakdown with some notable commentary. Now, of course, as you guys know, I like to give you the big picture, a very detailed picture. So I give you the good and the bad. That's going to include mistakes that Tua made and the flashes that he made and the good plays that he made, right? So, look, if that's not for you, if you don't like to hear where the improvement needs to be made, and if you don't like the bad pointed out, well, probably not for you. But that's what you're going to get from me. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So, like I said, first of all, as far as my overview goes for this game, I think it was a win. You love that. It was a good win. They played good complementary football. The special teams came in early on in the game. In particular, Jakeem Grant had a few nice, punt returns and whatnot throughout the game, but definitely they came up big at the beginning with the blocked punt. We'll talk about that more later, right? That set them up for a good, easy touchdown at the very beginning of the game. Defense played solid. They had a couple turnovers. Xavier Howard got another pick, right? So his 5th of the season, leads the league, tied for first. And the offense made improvements, right? And they were more consistent, and you did see more flashes from Tua, but he did make mistakes, which we will get into in depth as we go through this. But overall, it was a solid day with good complementary football, and the team played well overall. The defense was not as dominant as we've seen in some of these games, but they still played really good, and held it down, right? And the offense made improvements, and you got to see some more flashes. So first of all, let's go ahead and just real quick go through the injury report. For the Chargers, they had Joey Bosa obviously out, and also running back Justin Jackson were listed as out, while tackle Brian Bulaga, running back Troy Pope, and guard Trey Turner were all questionable. Now, obviously, not having Joey Bosa is huge, because they do still have Melvin Ingram, but not having Bosa on that other side is a massive deal. So I do think that it would have been a bit more difficult for the Dolphins offense had he been in there. And yet again, though, we played a team that didn't really have, any, super substantial or massively impactful pass rush, right? Now, overall, though, they're not an exceptionally injured team, and when you look at that, they had, 2, 4, 6 players altogether on the injury report, 2 out, 3 questionable. For the Dolphins, we didn't have anybody listed as out, but 3 players questionable was Matt Breida, Jamal Perry, and Durham Smythe. Smythe played, Matt Breida did not play. But we do have a fair few people on the injury report: Kevon Frazier, Byron Jones, Patrick Laird, Shaq Lawson, Adam Shaheen, Raekwon Davis, a bunch of people. So overall, when it comes to injuries, right, like I've talked about how the Dolphins have, like the 49ers example is the best example, right, of a team that was decimated by injuries, and I think that played a large role in the outcome, right? Was a big factor in the outcome of that game. Now, in this case, right, that's not so much of a factor because we both have injured players. They're not really decimated. They have a handful. They're actually relatively healthy overall, but they were missing one of their star players, and certainly somebody that would have helped them tremendously in the pass rush, which was Joey Bosa. And of course, they did also trade Desmond King, one of their top corners, recently to the Titans. So it is notable, but not overall a huge factor. As far as like penalties go, I would say that overall it did favor the Dolphins a bit more when it comes to the penalties, but the penalties themselves were not a giant factor in the game. So overall, right? So as far as the overall outcome, it didn't really play that big of a role, but it did help the Dolphins out more than the Chargers at any given time, right? Both teams had a few penalties. I think the Dolphins had 3 and the Chargers had 5 overall. But it definitely hurt the Chargers more. But again, not a major factor in the overall picture of things. But it is part of the picture, so it is important to, just throw in there. Okay, so let's go ahead and start getting into these stats. First of all, obviously the Dolphins now move to 6-3 with that win. It was an expected win, right? When you take everything into account, the fact that they do have some injuries, including, the one really notable injury, and the fact that they are struggling, right? They are a struggling team. Justin Herbert has played pretty well overall by all accounts, but they haven't really won. They've lost a bunch of close games. They have had mistakes, right? So in this game in particular, the penalties, and there were mistakes by the Chargers, right? There were a few occasions where Justin Herbert just missed throws, right? And so that is notable, right? Those things have hurt them in a lot of their games, right? Penalties and mistakes. It wasn't a deciding factor in this game, those things, but they were there. And so that's part of the reason why they have been struggling, even though he has played well overall, right? And so it was an expected win. I said, I believe 24-21 or 24-20, something like that, I think was what I predicted. Ended up being a 29-21 victory. So 8 points there. Dolphins moved to 6-3. And let's note that they are, as long as they do remain healthy, I do think that they can, make a push, especially because, look, next week we play the Broncos, and I just saw a report earlier today that Drew Lock, their starting quarterback, might not be playing. So, we have lucked out in a lot of ways this season and have played teams that have been decimated by injuries, especially, recently. And we're playing bad teams. We're on a stretch now of, at least by their record, playing bad teams. The Chargers actually have a decent amount of talent. They're just not playing up to that talent level as it stands right now. The Broncos, are another struggling team. We do have to travel to Mile High Stadium, and that, of course, is a challenge. But this is a game that they should win. In fact, they should win the next 3 games, I would think. Because then after that, they have the Jets again, and then I can't remember off the top of my head who's after that, but it's another, team that's not doing so well. And so, the Bengals. Not doing so well overall. And so, I think those are 3 games that the Dolphins can win. That would put them at 9-3 on the season. Honestly, I think that they could go with the remaining games left. They could make a push and go 10-6. The Bills did miraculously lose on that Hail Mary play against the fucking Cardinals, so that does get us close. There is still a possibility we could take the division, but that would have to be on an overall record. I'm pretty sure, based on divisional and conference records and tiebreakers, those are not going to be factors that go in the Dolphins' favor, and so they would have to win it outright. But either way, there is a substantial possibility that we make it to the playoffs after going on, what we hope to be a nice long run. They have now won, I think, 5 straight, if I'm not mistaken. So you add another 3 on that, get us to 9-3, and we are in prime position to at least make it to the playoffs. Now, just, to throw in there as a caveat, you guys know that because of the injuries and COVID and all these other different factors, I do believe that the Dolphins are overperforming, but they're taking advantage of the situations, and that is good to see. And you're also seeing a lot of the boom potential of this Dolphins team, particularly on defense, and hopefully more so as the season does continue to go on from the offense. All right, so let's continue on with these stats. The Chargers do drop to 2-7 because I do want to get into these details. So we had 280 total yards to their 273. We had 169 passing yards. They had 174. We had 111 rushing yards to their 99. So look, I mean, real quick, when it comes to that, when you look at those numbers, so what that tells me, and real quick, we had 4.9 yards per play to their 4.3. We were 35% on third down to their 30. We had the ball for 30 minutes and 6 seconds to their 29.54. We had 3 penalties to their 5. We lost a fumble. They threw an interception. So when I look at that, what those stats tell me is that, and they also had a turnover on downs. So technically that's a turnover, right? So we technically won the turnover battle, even though the official stats were pretty even. So good there, right? Defensively, we did play a solid game. We didn't let them have over 300 total yards. They only had 174 passing yards, just under 100 rushing yards. We could have definitely could have done a bit better in that regard, but keeping them to right about 100 yards, solid 4.3 yards per play, solid 30% third down conversion, and we won the time of possession battle. So defensively, solid, right? Offensively, there's definitely, room for improvement. They were over 100 yards on the ground altogether, 111, so that's good. 4.9 yards per play, basically 5, solid. You would like to see it push a little higher, especially from, what we are hoping from this offense with Tua in there and so on and so forth. Right, and also they do need to score more points. 29 is not going to be enough to cut it with the top tier leagues in the playoffs, right? So, and you want more total yards. Obviously, that's not everything, right? You want to see the yards rack up and stuff like that, and you do want to have a high yards per play. You definitely want to have better than 35% third down conversion, right? But overall, you do want to be able to see more, right? So there is still improvement to be made, and we are going to get into more detail, right? Because Tua made some great plays, and then he had some bad plays too. And so you would think that as they continue to, play games together, practice together, the chemistry will grow. And, obviously also too, Myles Gaskin is out. We traded Isaiah Ford. Preston Williams is out, right? So we're also missing some of our playmakers and whatnot. But theoretically and ideally, as time goes on, they will get better, and this offense hopefully will start to produce more big plays, start to rack up those yards, and then also additionally put up the points, which is ultimately the big and most important thing. So defensively, had a really solid game. Offensively, had a solid game, but there is definitely room for improvement. Tua on the day was 15 for 25, 60% completion percentage, 169 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and a 106.9 passer rating. So definitely, like I said, solid day. I think last week his passer rating actually was a bit higher, so 122. So he's definitely in this very small sample size. It's only been 3 games, so that is important to keep in mind. His first game was definitely not good. Made notable improvements in game 2 and showed some flashes, and I think in this game he did also show improvement overall, even though it is marginal, but he is showing some improvement, a little bit more consistency, and showed those flashes again, right? So, and the more he shows the flashes equals more consistency, which then by definition makes them not flashes anymore, right? That's then what you expect. So as we see more, hopefully that continues to be the case, and then he can continue to grow and then take, you know, bigger and bigger steps forward, and hopefully then eventually this really starts to take off. But he did have a really solid day, and hopefully that is, you know, someplace to be only a springboard and launch us forward. Justin Herbert, but there is some improvement to be made. Like, you know, his first game, he was like 54% completion percentage. Last game, I think he was at like 70%. This game back down to 60. So obviously, you know, he's a rookie. He's, you know, it's only his third game. There's definitely a lot of room for growth, but he does have a high ceiling. I am going to make a notable comparison between him and Justin Herbert later. And that when it comes to, you know, him, his size, right? Because that I do think is interesting, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. So Justin Herbert was 20 for 32, 62.5% completion percentage, 187 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and an 86.3 passer rating. Excuse me. Whew. Rushing, Salvon Ahmed led the way for us with 21 rushes, 85 yards, a touchdown, and a 4 average. Patrick Laird had 2 rushes, 19 yards, and a 9.5 average. I tried to fight that sneeze back. I'm sorry for that. Kalen Ballage led the way for them. Obviously, too, real quick for us, we are missing several guys now. And we did just get rid of Jordan Howard, so our running back position has changed quite a bit. Kalen Ballage led the way for them, 18 rushes, 68 yards, and a 3.8 average. Joshua Kelly, 7 rushes, 21 yards, and a 3 average. Justin Herbert had 4 rushes, 10 yards, a touchdown, and a 2.5 average. Let's see. Jakeem Grant led the way for us, which I actually... Now, I mean, he only had 4... It was 4 out of 5, 43 yards, and a touchdown, so it's not like, you know, he led the way and had, like, over 100 yards. But I do like that he likes... That is, Tua likes Jakeem Grant. Jakeem Grant is honestly one of my favorite players on the team. I've always loved him. I thought he was a really good pick. I loved, you know, Gase bringing him in, and I loved why he wanted to bring him in. Same thing with Albert Wilson. I really liked the team that Gase was building, personally. But anyway, he's a scrappy little dude, right? He's small, but he's fucking pound for pound. He will fucking, you know, get in the fucking dirt with you and scrap it out, and he's a fighter, man, and he's good, and he makes, you know, big plays and explosive plays and stuff like that. And so I like that, you know, Tua likes him. That makes me like him more, right? Also because he targeted Gesicki a few times and you know, Parker a bunch of times. So I like that he likes the guys that I like, right? Now, it is also in part because, you know, some of the other receivers are out and stuff like that. But I do like it, and I like that they do seem to have a bit of chemistry going on early. You know, and so, but having said that, those guys do actually need to, you know, produce more. Gesicki and Parker. Having said that, though, and we will get into this a little bit more, a couple of, like, Gesicki's misses and Parker's misses were really actually more on Tua. But he will, those are things that he absolutely can, and I'm sure will fix as time goes on. But anyway, so let's see. So Grant was 4 of 5, 43 yards and a touchdown. Gesicki was 2 of 5 for 40 yards. Devontae Parker, 2 of 7, 31. Malcolm Perry, 2 of 2 for 21. And Adam Shaheen, 1 of 1 for 19. Let's see. Keenan Allen was 3 of 7, 39 yards and a touchdown. Mike Williams, 2 of 5, 38 yards. Kalen Ballage, 5 of 6, 34 yards. Hunter Henry, 4 of 6, 30 and a score. Jalen Guyton, 4 of 6, 24. And Donald Parham, 1 of 1 for 13. Fumbles, the Dolphins did have 2 fumbles and lost one of them. They're both credited to Ted Karras. Although I'm pretty sure one of them technically should have been credited to Tua. Although I will say they were both bad snaps. But the first one, it was a low snap, but it still hit Tua. And so I'm pretty sure that's technically supposed to go on him. But lucky for him, he doesn't eat those stats, and Ted Karras gets them both. The second one was definitely on Ted Karras. I mean, in his defense, it looked like the ball just slipped out of his hand, but it was definitely a bad snap, and Tua didn't have a fucking shot at it, and that was the second one of the game later on that ended up getting picked up for a big return or whatever. But anyway, so let's see. Defensively, Eric Rowe led the way for us. 4 solo tackles with 2 assisted. Raekwon Davis, 4 solo, 3 assisted. Nick Needham, 4 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss and a pass defense. He had a pretty solid game overall. Brandon Jones, 3 solo, 2 assisted tackles. Jerome Baker, 3 solo, 1 assisted. Byron Jones, 3 solo with a pass defense. Zach Sealer, 2 solo, 3 assisted, 2 tackles for loss. Xavier Howard, 1 solo, 2 assisted. 1 interception for 28 yards and 2 passes defense. Also had a good day, obviously. Emmanuel Ogbah, 1 solo, got another sack, so that's nice to see. And 2 passes defense, which was also nice to see because it was good to see that not only were we getting some passes defense, but also a couple more on the defensive line. Benito Jones had 1 solo tackle and a tackle for loss. Jason Strourbridge, 1 solo tackle and a tackle for loss. And on the day we had, and I've decided to add this in there because I do like to be able to put the defense together in a broad picture. We had 34 solo tackles and 30 assisted tackles. Now, on one hand, you actually might say that you would want to see their solo tackles up a little bit, but you love to see the 34-30, right? Whereas opposed to the total tackles for the Chargers defense was 35-12. So what that tells me is that the Dolphins defense, at least in this game, in this, particular circumstance, and we have seen this actually for sure, at least the past few games, is the Dolphins defense is bringing guys to the ball, right? And so while you would like to maybe on one hand say, okay, you'd like to see their solo tackles up a little bit, that just gets completely negated by the fact that they have a ton of assisted tackles, which means that the guys are doing their part. And when you watch the tape, it corroborates, right? So when you watch the game, they weren't missing tackles. So guys were handling their solo tackles and taking guys down. But then they were also making sure to get hats to the ball, and, which then prevents potential, missed tackles and longer gains and so on and so forth. You like a defense that swarms. Let's see. For them, Nasir Adderley led the way, 8 solo tackles. Michael Davis, 5 solo tackles, a tackle for loss, 2 passes defense. I'm sorry, real quick, before I get back to that, I also wanted to mention that they did have good, solid penetration into the backfield. They had 2 sacks and 5 tackles for loss. And then obviously in the pass defense, Xavier Howard got the 1 interception, and they had 6 passes defense along the way, including those couple along the defensive line, and so that is nice to see. Rayshawn Jenkins had 4 solo tackles, 1 assisted. Kaiser White, 3 solo, 3 assisted, and a tackle for loss. Justin Jones, 2 solo, 1 assisted, and a tackle for loss. And Nick Vigil added a fumble recovery for them. And so this good on the Dolphins offense for not allowing any sacks. They didn't have any sacks on the day, although they did get some decent pressure, and they were close, but that was good on Tua for being able to escape that and feel the pressure. Let's see. Only 3 tackles for loss. They did have the forced fumble, and only 2 passes defense. So that's good on the Dolphins offense for offensive line in particular, for not allowing a lot of pressures, not allowing any sacks, but also on, the receivers for getting open, Tua for, hitting his targets, although he did have some notable misses as well, which we were talking about. Jason Sanders was 3 of 4 on his field goals. He actually missed one, which was unfortunate because he was perfect to this point, but of course, you can't always be perfect, and so he did miss his first field goal, along of 50, and 2 of 2 on his extra points. Michael Badgley didn't have any field goals, but was 3 of 3 on his extra points. In the punt game, Matt Hawk had 2 punts with an average of 52 and 1 inside the 20 and a long of 62. So that's a great day for Matt Hawk, most notably because he didn't have to punt all that much. Whereas, I think it was last game we had to punt 9 times. So that's a great stat line you like to see. Low amount of punts, has a high average. Half of them were inside the 20 and a long of 62. Ty Long had 4 punts with a 42.8 average, 1 inside the 20 and a long of 57. We didn't have any kickoff returns. They had one by Joe Reed, I believe, and I forgot to put it in here, so I don't remember what he did. Oh, no. It was, yeah, okay, no, this was it. Four, yeah, because I remember the 420. It was 4 returns for a 20 of average and a long of 31. Jakeem Grant had 3 punt returns for a 19 average and a long of 21. So what that tells you is that he had a long of 20, so that's a solid run. He had 3 of them, and he averaged 19. So all 3 of those punt returns were like 19 yards, right? 19, 20 yards. So good on him, and again, good on the special teams for providing, good field position and especially on the blocked punt that let them start their technically their first drive of the game at the 1 yard line. All right, so now let's get a little bit deeper into this analysis. Key points and analysis here. Did we win? Yes, obviously, which we love to see. But let's get into this breakdown a little bit. The Chargers did receive the ball to start the game, and they did go 3 and out on their first drive, which was awesome to see from the Dolphins defense right out the gate. This did or was partly facilitated by a 13-yard sack by Nick Needham, setting up a 3rd and 20. It was 2nd and 7, and Nick Needham, the Dolphins brought a blitz. Nick Needham comes in. They brought good pressure, and he gets the sack, drops them down to 3rd and 20. They end up going for the punt, and on this was at the very beginning of the game where they got the punt. Starts them off right away with a blocked punt that set them up at the 1 yard line to get an easy touchdown on their first drive of the game. It was a 1st and goal, and it was a 1 yard touchdown run to Ahmed, bringing the score to 7-0. Now, just real quick though, a little bit of notable context here. On this play, there was the snap was off target. It was low, and it was mishandled for like half a second, right? But that is enough. That was enough to cause the play. So what I'm saying is that had that not been the case, I don't think the Dolphins would have got the block. But obviously that was good hustle and execution by the Dolphins special teams, and definitely in particular on Andrew Van Ginkel for not going half speed, for not giving up on the play, nothing like that, and really charging hard and getting in there to get the block and take advantage of that little bit of a mishap on the Chargers special teams, right? And then Jamal Perry, who recovered the blocked punt at the 1 yard line. But it is notable because I do believe that if that wasn't the case, now obviously it was, that's how reality turned out. But if they were able to get a clean snap off, I do believe the punter would have gotten the kickoff, and it would not have resulted in the blocked punt, thereby allowing the Dolphins a quick and easy score on their first drive, right? So after that first drive, I put it in quotes just because it was just one play. Obviously, it still counts as a drive, but it was just the one play from the 1 yard line. Good on the Dolphins for taking advantage. It was a pretty easy run up the middle, off to the left a little bit, whatever, off the left guard, and we got the score. So good on them for taking advantage of that, and good on the special teams for pushing hard and taking advantage of their mistake. After that, the Chargers did end up punting again after 8 plays on their second drive. It was notable though, this was one of the more impactful mistakes by the Chargers. The Dolphins did bring some pressure. It was 3rd and 3, and the Dolphins did bring some pressure. It was a pass to Keenan Allen that was incomplete, but it was really just on Justin Herbert. I mean, Keenan Allen was wide open. There wasn't really a Dolphins defender anywhere near him, so it wasn't like a pass breakup. There was decent pressure, but Herbert still should have been able. I mean, the dude's 6'6", and he's a big guy. He weighs 236 pounds. So he should have been able to stand in the pocket or, stand in there and make the throw and get an easy completion for a first down that would have at least extended the drive, if not allowed them to push the rest of the way for a field goal or a touchdown. So that is notable. But we get the punt, and the Dolphins take that and score a touchdown after 13 plays on their second drive to bring the score to 14-0. Now, as you guys know, I like nuance, and there was a ton of it on this drive. So the first thing I want to mention is there was a 2nd and 8 play that was a 23-yard catch to Gesicki. Tua rolls out to his left, and this was brilliant by Tua, right? So he rolls out to his left, and this is one of those, flashes that you like to see, and you hopefully will see consistently, so that way they're no longer flashes and it just becomes the expectation on him. Now, I know obviously most Dolphins fans already expect it, but until he proves it, right, it's a little bit unreasonable to just flat out expect it. You have reason to believe that that could be the case based off of what he did in college, but the NFL is a completely different animal. Okay, so whatever. So this play in particular, though, was brilliant. He rolls out to his left. There was an option to throw a short check down, which was right in front of him, that would have picked him up, like 5 or 6 yards, something like that. It would not have picked up a first down, most likely. But he kept his eyes, scanning the field, and he found Gesicki, who was actually, he was open. He was in a little pocket of the defense, but there were defenders pretty close, right? So he throws a laser, pinpoint accuracy to Gesicki for a 23-yard pickup. Now, I thought it was brilliant because, it was what's the way to put it? Like, right? So when you think about quarterbacks who have the persona or image of being a gunslinger, right? Like Ryan Fitzpatrick, for example, and a bunch of other guys, right? Like, they're not afraid to throw it downfield or make, risky throws into tight windows and shit like that. But oftentimes gunslingers will, be up and down because they will sometimes be careless or, whatever, right? There's a million different things that could be the case, but right. So, and they'll throw interceptions, right? I think Phillip Rivers actually does that quite a bit, especially when he gets frustrated. But anyway, there's lots of quarterbacks that are known for that, or that are like that, right? And gunslingers are like that. This was it was one of those tight window and slightly risky throws, I guess. It's really hard to explain what I'm trying to say here, because there was, so like, I wish I could like draw a picture for you, right? So you have Gesicki, and then there was like 3 defenders that were like around him. So he was in a little pocket. So there were defenders around, and they could have, potentially got a hand on the ball or made a play on the ball to bat it down or something like that. And in fact, one of the defenders was close, right? He ended up making up some of the ground and got close to defending the ball. But Tua put it in the perfect spot to drop it right in there, perfect for Gesicki. And I love the fact that he was able to do that on multiple levels, right? So he could have easily taken, right? So when you have these quote-unquote special quarterbacks, you expect them to be able to do that, right? Have the vision of the entire field and make the decision on when to do it, and to be able to make the throw with the accuracy, with the placement, and so on and so forth. And you don't like when quarterbacks, especially when they have that ability, just constantly take the checkdowns and don't ever take the chance and push it, right? You want them to do it smart, and you want them to be able to do it, accurately and so forth. And that's what he showed on this play. All right, I don't think I explained that all that great, but I think you get it, right? So he rolls out, he pumps to the flat, and then throws this, which actually was part of what allowed him to make the throw to Gesicki, right? Because it draws some of the defenders up when he does the little pump to the flat, and then throws that pinpoint, dime to Gesicki for the nice gain. All right. Then, a little bit later, I think it might have actually been the next play, on a 1st and 10, he throws to Gesicki again. It ends up being complete. On this one, though, he was a bit off target. So he threw the ball. It was a little high and a little behind his receiver, and it caused... This actually was potentially a huge mistake, and this actually was another example of a situation where he just really lucked out, because this should have been an interception. It really should, because he was off target with the ball. He was a little bit high and behind Gesicki. When Gesicki went to get it, he couldn't corral it. And also the defender was in good position to, get his hands in the mix as well. It caused a deflected pass, and Denzel Perryman had it. He fucking had it. He just couldn't squeeze it as he went to the ground, like we saw last week, right? Against the Cardinals. One of their defenders, same thing, right? So I know people don't like me pointing this kind of stuff out, but it was a mistake that Tua made. Now, again, these are things that he obviously can and I'm sure will improve on, but it was a mistake that he made that nearly cost him big, and he just lucked out, right? So it is what it is. We move on. 3rd and 1. Later on, it was a pass to Smythe. Now, so we flip again, right? He starts out on this drive. Like I said, there was a lot of nuance here. So he starts out with that 2nd and 8 play, makes a brilliant play. 1st and 10, makes a bad decision, then comes back and makes a brilliant play. So 3rd and 1, Tua rolls to his left again on a little run fake, and then wisely decided to throw the ball away instead of taking a sack, since there was nothing open, right? So unfortunately, now 3rd and 1, obviously it ends up being an incomplete pass, and so you didn't convert downs, and you didn't fucking continue to the drive, blah blah blah, right? But it was a good decision. It was good decision making by Tua, because he did have defenders coming in at him. He didn't have anywhere to really throw it, and so he just threw it away to make sure that he didn't take a sack, lose any yardage, and so on and so forth. Then on 4th and 1, Dolphins go for the field goal. Now, here's the thing. So I did not like this. Personally, I didn't like the call, right? Now, it didn't matter. We won the game anyway. And frankly, they lucked out, because then the Chargers ended up jumping off sides, which gave them a fresh set of downs. But they were like, I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they were either inside the 10 or the 15 yard line. They were super deep into fucking Chargers territory. It was 4th and 1. 4th and 1 plays actually have a really high probability of success, right? And so being that deep into Chargers territory, being up, what were they? They were only up a touchdown at that point, so it was 7-0, but you are up a score, you're deep in their territory, and you're on a play that is got a high percentage of probability of success, right? So I personally wanted them to go for it, and especially too, I want to make this, I want to make this point, especially too, right? Last year, people were giving Brian Flores so much credit for being aggressive during their tank season, right? Now, and giving that as a reason why they, praised him last year and fucking why they love him. But I pointed out that, one, almost every time he was aggressive, whether it be, challenges or play calling or whatever, almost every time he was aggressive, it failed massively, right? And additionally, other times when he, got animated on the sideline, it was, at points where it just didn't make any fucking sense at all. So like he would scream about like, I don't know, I'm just pulling something arbitrary off the top of my head, like the placement of the ball or something, but it was clearly down, before the sticks, right? That's just one example, right? Like, so people gave him all of this praise for being aggressive. Well, this is a chance to be aggressive, right? And you probably would have fucking picked it up. But if not, then they would have been, you know, deep in their own territory. Your defense has been playing really well in this game. I mean, really well over the past few games. Started out pretty solid today, and I had a, you know, ended up having an overall solid day, right? So to me, I just would have done it. I would have been more aggressive. It didn't matter. You know, they chose to go for the field goal, so that was their decision. It's obviously not mine. But then they ended up lucking out because the Chargers ended up with an offsides penalty, gave them a fresh set of downs, and then that did allow them to end up getting their second touchdown, bringing the score to 14-0. The next drive, Chargers go 3 and out, so good on the Dolphins defense. We move to the second quarter. The Dolphins then get the ball. The result of the drive was a fumble after 9 plays on their third drive. But there is some, you know, nuance and some notable things to talk about. So the first thing is on a 1st and 10, it was a play to Gesicki. And this is another example of Tua being late. So again, he was late and a little accurate on the throw, and this allowed the defensive back to make a play on the ball and break it up. Again, you know, not a big deal. These things are, and he was, you know, known for being really accurate in college. Again, the NFL is a completely different animal, and the defenses are way different. So it's going to take him some time to come into it, but this is something that he can, you know, absolutely overcome and get better at, and especially as he gains more chemistry with his receivers, Gesicki included. And so that's why, like I said, I like the fact that he targeted Gesicki a bunch of times. He just has to get on the same page with him fully, right? They've connected a few times, and then he missed him a few times. Next, we have 3rd and 10. And this was a play by Tua that was absolutely fucking brilliant. And this again was one of the big flashes from Tua and why theoretically the Dolphins decided to take him so high, right? So it was a 3rd and 10 play, and it was almost completely broken and almost could have been a big disaster because there was a low snap from Ted Karras, the center, and ends up on the ground. But Tua, with his quick reflexes, I mean, the dude on the play looked like he had the reflexes of a fucking cat, right? Of a fucking cheetah or something. Because he fucking, he goes down, grabs the ball really quick, stands up straight, and just fucking launches it, right? Now, I'm pretty sure the play design was to Parker on the deep shot anyway, so I'm pretty sure he, you know, knew where he was supposed to be going with the ball already, so that probably helps. But he gets up and he fucking takes that quick look and fucking launches it because there was solid pressure coming on. It's actually not his backside, it's his front side since he's a left-handed quarterback. But it was coming from the left of the line. And so he gets it out just lightning fucking fast, puts it up there for Parker to fucking grab, and which Parker does, and it's a fucking 38-yard completion to keep the drive alive. So brilliant on him, right? Then we go to the next, I think it was the very next 3rd and 2 play. This is just a minor criticism, minor criticism. He did fine, and he actually did what I believe the play was designed to do, but there was an option in the play that I personally would have preferred him taking. And again, I think that this would have been something that he likely would have done, or, you know, in college, and likely will do later down the road as he gets more time in the offense and more time with his guys and gets better at reading defenses, etc., etc. But it was a 3rd and 2, and it was a 7-yard pickup, so they got the first down. And like I said, I'm pretty sure this was the design of the play. It looked like it by all accounts. But it was a shovel pass straight up the middle to Durham Smythe. Now, the reason why I say I would have done something a little different is because he did have the running back, Ahmed, going out to the left, right? Broke out to the flat, to the left. And remember, it's 3rd and 2. He had him open, and the catch would have been already past the yard to gain, right? Like he was, he probably would have made the catch, I don't know, 3 or 4 yards down, past the line of scrimmage. So obviously a couple yards past the yard marker to gain for the first down, and also probably could have even got some additional yardage past that. right? So probably could have picked up at least the 7 yards that they got on the shovel pass and the first down, but probably even a little bit more. And the catch would have actually been made past the line of scrimmage, where the shovel pass to Durham Smythe actually, or excuse me, the pass to Ahmed would have been past the line to gain, the first down marker, whereas the pass to Smythe was behind the line of scrimmage, right? So had they gotten better penetration, the defense, it actually could have got blown up behind the line of scrimmage for a loss, whereas the pass to Ahmed, again, would have been already past the first down marker when the catch was made and he was open. So again, just minor criticism. It's, you know, nothing big. I know somehow people will turn that into I hate Tua, but okay, whatever. Anyway, then later on, this is the this was the fumble that was on Ted Karras, the one that slipped out of his hand. So I pretty much already, you know, mentioned it, so I'm not really going to go into it again. It was just a 3rd and 1. It was disappointing because it was a 3rd and 1 play. We only had a yard to go, and we were in the red zone, you know, looking to hopefully move up 21-0. But unfortunately, there was the bad snap. Looked like it just slipped out of Karras' hand. Tua couldn't get it because it, you know, rolled under the line, got kicked by one of the defenders, and, you know, behind the Dolphins, blah, blah, blah. It rolls on. Nick Vigil picks it up, gets a long return. Then after that, the Chargers score a touchdown after 11 plays on their 4th drive of the game. Just real quick note, in this, it's half praise and half improvement for the Dolphins defense here. So the Dolphins defense twice stopped the ball carrier at the 1 yard line, had good, solid brick wall kind of stand, right, to keep the ball carrier from going in, but they also gave up 2 first downs on 4th down, right? So they also did run 2 4th down plays that ended up resulting in, one of the plays ended up resulting in a first down, and the other play resulted in a pretty easy walk-in touchdown for Justin Herbert. And so here's actually where I'm going to mention a little bit about the quarterback comparison physically, right? Because in the commentary, they actually mentioned how, you know, Justin Herbert's a big dude. He's 6'6", 236 pounds, right? And he can run. So not only is he a big guy and can do things like quarterback sneaks and shit like that, but he's also a solid runner. Now, Tua, on the other hand, he's got the fucking, so, you know, and Herbert's got the arm talent and can make the throws. He's a smart guy, you know, so on and so forth, right? The big difference between him and Tua is their size, right? By all the accounts I've seen, they're pretty similar in a lot of other ways. At least, you know, I mean, a lot of people think that Tua's like, you know, super special and like, you know, Patrick Mahomes kind of special. Well, that has, you know, yet to be seen. I hope he gets there. But again, the NFL is a different beast than college. But, you know, by all accounts, he's got, you know, Herbert's got the decision making and the accuracy and, you know, all of that stuff as well. But Tua's, you know, what is he, like, I think he's just barely 6 foot or something like that. And he's a lot smaller. And he does, unfortunately, have significant injury history. And so that is, unfortunately, something that will be, you know, something that lingers around him for his entire career. Now, hopefully, it doesn't end up being, you know, an issue. Hopefully, the Dolphins continue to build a good team around him, give him solid protection, and hopefully he can stay healthy. But it is notable, you know, in comparisons like that, right? To notice the different, you know, the different ways in which you use a guy who's 6'6", 236 pounds versus a guy who's, you know, just 6 foot and whatever it is that Tua weighs, like, well, probably a little over 200 or whatever it is. Also, it's notable because, you know, with Justin Herbert, it's obviously, or let's say with Tua, it's more likely to have passes batted down at the line of scrimmage if he's throwing from the pocket, right? So now Tua, in his game, you would think he's actually going to have a lot of designed rollouts and stuff like that, which we have seen and we actually saw a few times in this game. And so, but when it comes to throwing in the pocket, a shorter, smaller quarterback has a harder time seeing over the big, massive defensive linemen who range from 6 foot to like 6'8", right? So it's just notable, you know, as part of the overall, you know, context of things. All right, anyway, moving on, because I do want to get through the rest of this. Yeah. Dolphins then go 3-and-out on their next drive. Chargers then punt on their 5th drive of the game after 5 plays. Then on the Dolphins' fifth drive, they score a field goal after 5 plays to make the game 17-7. So this was right before the end of the half, and so it was good, right? It was good to see that the Dolphins defense was able to get a stop on the Chargers offense, get them to punt the ball, and then also go down and score some points, right? Because they also got the ball to start the second half. So the good teams, right, they double dip. They'll get the ball, they'll, like, just before the end of the first half, they'll score some points. They did that. They secured the first half of the double dip, right? It was only a field goal, but you did get some points, and so that was nice to see. I will note, though, that they could have gotten a touchdown, right? So, again, just some room for improvement for Tua, right? It was 3rd and 8, and then, you know, this incomplete pass to Jakeem Grant ended up leading to the field goal, but it was 3rd and 8. The Chargers did get some pressure on Tua, and it was a near sack, but Tua broke away from the pressure, and there was a streaking Jakeem Grant to the right side of the end zone. Whatever, right? You get the point. So it was deep down the field. I mean, I think they were, you know, like 20 to 30 yards away from the end zone, something like that, whatever. And he just barely missed him. He was just a little off target and just barely missed Jakeem Grant. That was the one miss, right? Jakeem Grant was 4 or 5 on the day. That was the one miss. So I love that he likes Jakeem Grant, as I mentioned. And as I also mentioned, the more that they gain chemistry, the less likely it is that he'll miss that throw. Now, he did have to break away from the pressure. He rolled out to his right. He didn't really get to set his feet or anything. But he is known for being an accurate quarterback and so on. So I do believe that as he gets more time and more chemistry with guys like Grant, that will be a completion down the road and a touchdown later down the road, as opposed to just the field goal now, right? So good on them for getting the points. It sucks that he, you know, was off target and missed the touchdown, but I do think that is more likely to be a touchdown in the future as they, you know, get more familiar and build their chemistry. All right, and then let's see. The Chargers ended the half after one play, so they just kneeled it. That was technically their 6th drive. We move into the 3rd quarter. Dolphins receive the ball. Unfortunately, we do go 3-and-out on that next drive, our 6th drive of the game. And this was another example of Tua being a bit off target. So it was and there was an example on this drive of Tua being off target, and it was on 1st down to start the drive, 1st and 10. It was a shot to Parker, and it was, I guess you would consider it an intermediate crossing route, right? So it was about 9 to 11 yards down the field, and then he did the crosser across the field, right? Across the middle and across the field, the crossing route. So it was past the sticks, right? It was 1st and 10. The route was past the sticks. He had Parker open, and he was just a little off target, a little high, a little behind, and it could have been a 12-plus yard gainer, and he just missed, right? So again, he's a rookie. It's only his 3rd game. As he builds more chemistry, blah, blah, blah. It's not a big deal, but it is important to note these things for the full perspective, right? And it's not necessarily even to come down on him. It's just to be realistic about the situation, but also to say that the more time he gets, the better these things should be, right? And so you will see less of these instances in which he's, you know, just a little off target because he's a little high or maybe a little behind, right? And the more he learns the offense and gets better at reading defenses, the better all of those things become, the better his chemistry with his receivers, the better he learns the offense, the better he learns defenses, the better all of that will become, and the less mistakes will be made. All right, then the Chargers go down and score a touchdown after 11 plays on their 7th drive, bringing it to a 17-14 Dolphins lead. Then the Dolphins go and score a field goal after 8 plays on their 7th drive to make it 20-14. Now there's a little bit of notable nuanced stuff in here. On 1st and 10, it was a pass to Gesicki. Now this actually was pretty much the same route that Devontae Parker just ran in the previous example. This time he was on target, and so it was an 18-yard catch. Like I said, similar route to what Parker just ran. This time puts it on the money, allows his receiver to get a clean catch in stride for a nice gain and a first down. Then I believe it's technically the next play, although the Dolphins had a false start which set them back 5 yards, so it became a 1st and 15. It ended up being a 19-yard completion to Adam Shaheen. Now, there's nuance to this particular play. This play actually probably should have been an interception, right? So, again, I mean, it's just, in this particular case, it's just what you would consider a rookie mistake. It didn't end up being a mistake, so again, he actually lucked out in this regard. Because the ball literally just went right through the defender's hands. Like, the defender was going, and it was just a disguised coverage, right? Because Tua didn't see whoever it was, I believe probably a linebacker that dropped back into coverage and should have had the interception. But as he goes to squeeze, or, you know, get the ball, it just barely goes through his hands, right? So, now you could say that, Tua's quickness and arm strength got it in there in a fucking hurry, threw a bullet and whatever, right? But it was right through a defender's hands, and it was an ill-advised throw. He lucked out, and it was good, though, on Adam Shaheen for having the focus and determination to make sure he went down and got the catch, because he had to actually go kind of low to get it as well. So good on him to make a play for his quarterback after the defender was unable to come up with the interception, right? So, yeah, think you get the idea there. Then next, so this play that I'm about to talk about, again, has a lot of nuance. All right, so let me just go through it. And I mean, I typed a bunch of stuff out, so let me just read through it and tell you what I think, right? So it was a 3rd and 9 play. The Dolphins were actually, getting ready to put up a score, a touchdown, hopefully, right? They're down in the red zone. It's 3rd and 9, and it ends up being an incomplete pass. I think they were in the red zone. They were, 20 to 30 yards away, and it ended up being an incomplete pass to Devontae Parker. It was a shot towards the end zone. It was in double coverage, so from that regard, you could say it was probably a little bit ill-advised. But when you look at the replay, you go back and watch it, both of the defenders actually were behind Devontae Parker. Now, the ball actually was nearly intercepted, so when you look at it from the perspective of being in double coverage and that it was nearly intercepted, you could say that it was very ill-advised, right? But that's not actually the entire picture. So part of it, so it's, it's a little bit mixed, right? So it's partly a bad decision, but he could have just altered his decision slightly, and it actually could have turned out to be a really good decision, right? So, and again, the more experience he gets, the better he will get at these kinds of things. So what do I mean by that? Like I said, both of the defenders were behind him. Now, with the way that he did throw it, you could have reasonably actually argued for either a pass interference or an illegal contact penalty. They didn't get that. There was no penalty. You could have made that argument, but since there was no penalty thrown, it's kind of irrelevant. And because there was no penalty and because of the result of the play, it's kind of irrelevant. But because the defenders were a little bit behind him, right? So the way I think that this play was designed was I think he was trying to throw it to the back of the end zone for Parker to kind of go up and get and toe drag for the touchdown. But that would be with the assumption that the defenders were more underneath as opposed to over the top, right? Now, this is just my guess. I'm not sure, but that's what I think is he was trying to throw it over the top, thinking the defenders were, the defenders would be a little bit more underneath. They actually ended up being over the top. Had he thrown the ball shorter, more in the middle of the end zone as the back of the end zone, it actually could have probably been a touchdown to Parker because he could have made an easy adjustment to turn around and just catch the ball. Anyway, so again, I mean, that's just a minor criticism. And, they ended up getting the field goal and obviously ended up winning the game. No big deal. And again, something I believe that will get, better with time for him. Then the Chargers throw an interception after 6 plays on their 8th drive. It was Xavier Howard's 5th. He now leads the league. He's tied with someone else. I can't remember who off the top of my head, but that is now the 5th. And of course, Xavier Howard, being the baller that he is, just jumped the route, took it back for 28 yards and set the Dolphins up on their 8th drive to get a touchdown after 5 plays to bring the score to 26-14. So, again, with some more praise for Tua, back-to-back praise on 2 separate plays. So the first one is it was a 1st and 10 play, and it was a pass to Jakeem Grant that goes for 12 yards. It was a little out route to the sideline, and he just placed it perfectly, right? Good execution, good precision, and so there you go. That's the praise, right? That's a flash of the accuracy, right? And again, to the point I was making before about how he was inaccurate and, on some of these throws, I just think that as he gets more time, and even the one throw to Jakeem Grant, I think as he gets more time with these guys, he will start to see more of those pinpoint accurate throws. Hopefully that's what we want to see. All right, and then on the same drive, 3rd and goal, it was a pass to Smythe, ultimately, that ended up getting the touchdown, but the play design was a little rollout to Tua's left, and there was, I think, a running back that was running into the flat, but the Chargers were anticipating that, and it looked like it was well covered. It could potentially have gotten dropped for, maybe like a 1-yard loss, 2-yard loss, maybe a no gain right at the line of scrimmage, maybe a gain for, a yard or whatever. But it likely would not have gotten the touchdown, and that would have been disappointing had he thrown that, even if it would have picked up a yard or whatever. It would have been disappointing because he had a wide open Durham Smythe on the right side of the field, right? Because that play design, it drew the screen, it drew the defense to the left, and Durham Smythe leaked out to the right into the flat, which left him wide open. There was no defenders there, and it was an easy touchdown. And so that was great on Tua for being able to acknowledge and see the defense, reading the play and covering the screen well, and then going back to the other side of the field to get an easy score. Let's see. Then the Chargers go 3 and out. Dolphins miss a field goal then on their next drive, their 9th drive after 4 plays. Chargers have a turnover on downs after 4 plays on their 10th drive. Then the Dolphins score a field goal after 7 plays on their 10th drive to make it 29-14. Chargers then score a touchdown after 8 plays to make it 29-21. Dolphins end the game after that, after 3 plays, making the final score 29-21. Obviously, those last 3 plays were victory formation. The Chargers didn't have any more timeouts, and the Dolphins just kneeled the ball and got out of there with a win. Now, there is one notable injury that happened. Kyle Van Noy had a hip injury, although I think he came back at some point in the game, although I'm not sure about that. The commentary had said that they thought they saw him in there, but I was looking. I don't think I saw him in there. but I can't verify that. So that is a notable injury. He did have to come out. He came out somewhere in the second quarter, I believe. And if he did come back, it wasn't until, like, you know, midway late in the third or the fourth, if he did. So again, you know, the key thing for this Dolphins team is to just stay healthy. That, I believe, will probably be, you know, the one thing that could derail the push and the, you know, above and beyond season that they're having. So hopefully they stay healthy, and hopefully Kyle Van Noy is able to come back pretty quick as well. All right. Well, that ended up being a rather long game, or excuse me, video. Very detailed. Like I said, a lot of nuance. So that is to be expected. I am expecting these videos to be a bit longer. I'm going to try and, to balance it though, I am going to make my preview videos just real quick and short. I'm just going to, you know, just basically say what I expect, which is essentially what I'm going to say right now. And that is, look, next week we play the Broncos. They might not even have Drew Lock in the game. We do have to travel to Mile High Stadium, but that is definitely a winnable game, and one that the Dolphins should come out victorious in, for a few different reasons, including injuries, including that the Broncos are struggling, etc., etc. They've had some COVID issues themselves too as well throughout the season, and earlier on in the year in particular. But anyway, so that's definitely a winnable game. I'll be doing my preview video for that on Saturday. The game is on Sunday. It's another afternoon game. I believe 1 o'clock my time, 4 o'clock Eastern time. So I will be doing a live stream for that. So join me for that. And so yeah, with that, I'm going to get up out of here. I hope you guys appreciate my perspectives. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comments section. And of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.